Welcome back to March Malcontent, Episode 7. We're going to start off with a match between Meta Knight and Kirby Classic. Just as a reminder, Kirby Classic is the Kirby from previous years of April Anger and the associated March Malcontent and Main Malaise. Gotta love the alliteration we've got going. They're doing a great job of dancing around each other and not quite hitting each other. It's kind of a contrasting state to be in because it either implies that you are both amazing at the game or both terrible at the game. Kirby just tried to combo a down air into a down air that doesn't usually work. Catches the tech roll though into a down throw, and they seem to just keep trading this match. No idea why. I mean, I can see that it's happening, but usually I'd have like some sort of super logical explanation, but not this time. Meta Knight got hit by like the very last hit of Kirby's spike there. If he had a worse recovery, it would have killed him. Kirby's down air is a spike. It's probably one of the weakest spikes in the game, but that's because it's a long-lasting move, basically a drill, so it's not that hard to hit people with, especially since Kirby has 5 jumps. It can actually be incredibly threatening while edgeguarding. If it was any stronger, Kirby would honestly, well, be either nuts overpowered, broken, or wildly hated. Now, I don't know what just happened there. Kirby got hit by one hitbox of the Meta Knight drill move, and it sent him backwards. Usually the move sends you forward so that you can get drilled by the rest of the move. Kirby seems to be doing this thing where he charges a smash attack when Meta Knight will be pretty much unable to fall into it. Yeah, it's not usually a good trade for an amiibo to have, because it means that they're going to be smash attacking a lot when it's not going to help them. Now, Meta Knight really needs to get a kill off of Kirby here. It's a little disparaging because Meta Knight is one of the most recent amiibo that were trained, so I hope I haven't lost my touch. I think Kirby just saved Meta Knight there. Kirby Classic does seem to like the down air into smash attacks. And it just keeps working out for him, so I guess I can't tell him to stop, but is Meta Knight going to get his first kill? Nope, he almost gets spiked, and he gets footstooled, but he can recover. He's Meta Knight. Didn't even need the second hitbox of Shuttle Loop. Meta Knight finally figured out how to counter Kirby's perpetually down airs there. Up B doesn't kill, though. Kirby going for an edge guard with some more down airs. Meta Knight survives, but he still needs to kill Kirby at least once. His up smash is not tall enough to reach through that platform. The weird thing about Kirby is that his up smash will reach to battlefield platforms, but Mario's up smash will not. Pretty interesting because Mario's like twice the height of Kirby, at least in the Smash Bros. Games. Either way, good job to Kirby for winning that match. Now we've got King Dedede against King K. Rool. Battle of the Monarchs. Smash Bros. Actually has a lot of kings when you think about it. King Dedede tries to go for the aerial jet hammer That move is a little limited in its scope. Usually use it as like a shield break punish. It can also be used for ledge trapping, because for some reason it hits just a little bit below the top of the ledge, which means it'll hit most characters. King Dedede playing a dangerous game, barely recovering correctly to the ledge. Seems to be having a hard time dealing with King K. Rool's projectiles. He's been sucked up by the blunderbuss twice. That being said, if that smash attack had connected, there was a chance it could have killed. Especially with all the rage King Dedede has built up. Seems to be pulling it around now. Up air won't kill. King K. Rool is a heavy character. The second one will kill. He had gotten more percent. And King K. Rool pulls it right back with an up air. And King... Oh, okay, he used a different move in the end, but the combo was initially up there, up there, up there. But King Dedede goes for a really early kill off of King K. Rool, spiking him near the bottom of the screen. King Dedede spike, because it takes so long to come out, is a little harder to land than most other spikes. He almost went... Well, he went for a second one there, but the propeller of the jetpack? Propeller pack? King K. Rool's propeller thing, I'm pretty sure has a name, and I'm betting it starts with the letter K. Oh, King K. Rool gets a spike off of King Dedede. I'm a little surprised that one worked. It's just another example of the bottom blast zone being closer for people who have been spiked. King Dedede's doing a pretty good job of spacing out King K. Rool with a hammer. And gets another spike! Wow, that was really high-octane games. This tournament would be half as long if all our games were like that. That brings us to Ridley versus Chrom. Now, Ridley is a weird heavyweight character. He is heavy, but he is not as heavy as most of the other characters that you normally think of as heavy. Honestly, you could kind of think of it as he's a heavy character, but one of his weaknesses is that he is not heavy. Which Smash Ultimate has more characters like that than most of the other Smash Brothers games. Ridley going for the suicide kill there. So, for those who don't know, they changed it so all drag down moves, such as Ridley's side B, Ganondorf's side B, and Bowser's side B, kill you before they kill your opponent. They can still be useful, because when you drag them down, it does mean the opponent has a very good chance of dying. Except against certain characters with really large recoveries. Because since it kills you first, it knocks the opponent out of the grab, giving them a chance to react. I will say it is a little strange, mostly because all of those moves include... There's the second one. All those moves include the character who used the move holding the character below them in an attempt to normally slam them against the ground. So when you hit the bottom blast zone and you die first, it just kind of feels wrong. I understand why it's there for gameplay balance reasons. And Chrom just killed Ridley with his up B at the side of the stage. I think that's the new record for shortest match we've ever seen. Next up, we have Fox against Palutena. Two amiibo who are new to this tournament, unseen before. That's a pretty good example of why we're having all these preseason matches, just so that people have some data to work with. Fox with some actually pretty intricate combos. Almost gets edge-guarded by Palutena, makes it back. Fox's up B recovery, the Firefox, does have more range to it than Falco's. It's actually a pretty interesting balance because Falco has a higher jump and Fox has a higher up B. They're both usually pretty similar to each other as in terms of how good they are, but it is those slight differences that make the characters feel different instead of like a clone character, which they try to avoid by calling some of the clones echoes. But then the problem with that was that some of the echoes actually do have different properties that does change how they play, even if some of them are incredibly niche properties. So the weird end result is that we still have clone characters, but only half of them are called echoes, and for some reason some characters that do actually have more substantial differences are counted as the same character according to Nintendo, but nobody wants to count them like that. It's a little weird. Now, Fox is an incredibly light character, so those uppers will kill pretty early. Although that being said, Fox is also one of the fastest falling characters. If not the fastest. So that does actually come into play when he's launched upwards. So his small weight will get him launched farther, but his increased fall speed will pull him back towards the earth as he's being launched up. It's a little weird how many formulas go into calculating how a character moves. Some characters have different, well actually, most characters have slightly different gravity to them, and that basically affects like the acceleration of their jumps, but not the jump speed off the ground, because that's determined by their jump speed stat instead. But if they jump in the air, it basically affects how long it takes them to reach the peak of their jump, and that statistic is different from their fall speed. Kind of just shows to go in, kind of just goes to show how complicated this game really is under the hood. Maybe that's why people like cars. Maybe that's why we call them game engines. Oh wow, the parallels. This is deep and I'm 12. No offense to any viewers who happen to be 12. Fox is just trying to kill Palutena with this back air. It's obviously not working. Fox's throws are not going to kill at any reasonable range. Honestly, since these are amiibo, Fox's best bet is probably just a random up smash out of nowhere. Like that, but hitting the strong hitbox at the front of it. Palutena probably needed to get a quick spike off of Fox there for the win. Well, not for the win, for the stock, but it would have led to the win. Fox just isn't killing. Fox finally figured out how to kill. Man, these words just taste so terrible in my mouth. Wish I didn't have to eat them. Up next we have Banjo against Link. I will say that I definitely appreciate that they went with Banjo's 3D design from Banjo Kazooie and Banjo Tooie instead of the one from Nuts and Bolts. Because that one didn't really feel like the character, and of course a whole bunch of people didn't like that game. Weirdest part about that game that I've heard is that if it wasn't a Banjo-Kazooie game, it would have been a fine game. But because it, had to live up to its predecessors, it just didn't do well. Banjo getting back with Wonder Ring, I remember when everybody thought that move was going to be absolutely broken. They did thankfully balance it out by only letting you use it 5 times per life. And that has honestly gone leagues in making sure that Banjo is not just absolutely broken. It kind of feels like Banjo-Kazooie just kind of doesn't have that DLC privilege that a lot of other characters have, just because of that limiting factor. He can, of course, get incredibly spammy with his 2 different projectiles, but he feels a lot more fair than a lot of other DLC characters. It also helps that aside from the 2 projectiles, he doesn't have range for days, a specific mechanic that makes him want to run away until... Well, run away and mine forever like Steve does, or just randomly gets stronger after taking enough hits. Which I will say is also another annoying trend, that taking a whole bunch of damage suddenly makes you really, really good. It was kind of fun when only Lucario had it, because Lucario was designed to be slightly underwhelming without it. But characters like Joker, Terry, and Kazooie turns out pretty fine before they get suddenly better. Banjo went for a forward air there, and then just shielded that forever. If Link had gone for the second hit, that could have broken his shield. Or at least left it small enough that it wouldn't have been particularly useful. Oh, Banjo got up using his invincibility, well, intangibility, technically, through Link's attack there. Goes for down air to forward air. I mean, down throw to forward air. You don't normally see that. Usually the whole point of down throw is to bury someone long enough that you get a follow-up after it. Banjo's going for the full extension on the shock jump pad. It's kind of causing him problems, giving Link a pretty good opportunity to edge guard him. He even went for it there, I guess? He had to afford it to appear, but he was still hanging on the ledge. Not going off stage to chase after Link. Banjo's actually pretty fine off stage with his multiple options, and Wonder Wing will take him pretty far back to stage or kill somebody off the side of the stage. Going for a back throw instead of, say, a down air to side B. He has to be careful because he only has so many Wonder Wings, but he could have also done down throw to forward smash. We're going to have to use a Wonder Wing just to get back to the stage, but he doesn't. He air dodges, and he dies as a result. Our next match is Palutena against Samus. Going to be interesting for Samus because Samus is a very good character for spamming projectiles, but so is Palutena, and Palutena has a reflector. It is also part counter. It's actually pretty interesting because Palutena used to have a reflector and a counter, but instead they put it into one move so that they could give her her side B, her Searing Flame move. Oh, Samus doesn't quite get Palutena with the up smash on the platform. Kind of a shame because it covered most of the platform. Palutena recovering high, make sure she doesn't get hit by a follow-up. Exploding Flame, that's the name of Palutena's side B. For those who don't know... Oh wow, nice. For those who don't know about Palutena's side B, you can... There's two distances you can use it at. If you use it as a smash attack, or if you don't. The smash attack one goes just a little bit farther. It does make it even harder to play against, because you never know which one Palutena is using until you see the flame come out. And if you see the flame, then there's a good chance it could be hitting you. That forward tilt actually reminds me, in Smash 4, all of Palutena's moves were incredibly slow. It's a little tragic because when people would play as her in tournaments, they would exclusively use her neutral air. No, her forward air. Neutral air wasn't as good back then. That's a whole nother story. People would use her forward air and her jab, because those were her fastest moves. With Smash Ultimate, they definitely did a better job of making sure that if a character wasn't as good as other characters, well, basically meant that characters didn't have to rely on just one move anymore. If a character was worse than a character, then they were overall just a little worse, instead of struggling to hang on with what little they had. And the result is we have one of the most balanced Smash Bros. Games. Actually pretty assuredly the most balanced Smash Brothers game so far. Wow, Palutena just got Samus with another spike at the edge through the platform. Impressive. That brings us to Shulk versus Meta Knight. Character with a huge long sword versus a small character with a small sword. That does mean it's going to be a little hard for Meta Knight to get in. Especially when Shulk does stuff like that. Getting a quick 60% to start off the match. Never a good omen. Trades with Meta Knight, no. And takes a stock for it. Well, that'll show me for predicting a match before it's over. Air dodges sideways into the drill. Honestly, he probably should have gone for the Smash Monado before that forward air. It probably would have killed Meta Knight. Like now would be a great time for Smash Monado. Because he needs to kill Meta Knight. And with Smash Monado, most kills would kill him. You can tell that Shulk's not listening to me because he's not doing it. Maybe he'll get a random smash attack or something instead. Meta Knight's now just walking all over Shulk, seemingly emboldened by his earlier play. Going for some pretty crazy combos. Dancing around each other. Meta Knight landing another back air. With the auto heal and all the hits, okay, well he just died, but he almost matched Shulk in percent. Now Shulk's going for Jump Monado. That's intrinsically risky because he might need it to recover. And Jump Monado is particularly useful against opponents who are in the sky, who you can jump at. And Meta Knight's been sticking kind of close to the ground. He will, be jumping to use an aerial, but not high enough where Jump Monado is needed. Something a lot of people don't seem to know about Shulk's backslash is that it does more damage if you hit your opponents in the back. Yes, that means that if they're not facing towards you and you hit them, it does additional damage. People also don't know that if you use his counter and you predict which direction to attack in, you get a stronger version of the counter. It is kind of cool because I guess one of Shulk's main things is that he can see the future. Great use of the Jump Monado right there, by the way. Shulk can see the future, so by predicting the future with your counter, you get rewarded extra heavily. Almost saying that, oh yeah, if the player can see the future like Shulk can, then they become more effective. It's like the little lore things like that I really appreciate about Smash Brothers. Now, speed was actually good there because it let Shulk recover. He needed that horizontal distance, and his Jump Monado might not quite have recovered yet. And now he has it for this recovery. Jump Monado even increases the distance Shulk's up B travels, so it's double useful for that. Shuttle Loop will kill Shulk off the top, though. One of the dangers of going super high against Meta Knight. If Shulk can get a quick kill, though, then he can still be in this. And he gets it. So I guess technically Shulk was still... And he's going in Buster at a time when it would be advantageous to deal damage quickly to Meta Knight. But Meta Knight's side B's off the side of the stage.
But the future is ours to decide.
And in the last fight of this episode, we have Incineroar versus an Isabelle. Dog versus a cat. Or more aptly, an enormous wrestling fire cat against a dog whose primary achievements are centered around secretarial work. Kind of feel bad for Isabelle now. Weird fact about Incineroar, he has really tiny feet. Now, you probably could have seen that yourself. That does actually have gameplay implications in Smash Brothers, as rarely seen as they are, because if Incineroar is large and gets a super mushroom, sometimes his feet will miss other super mushrooms. It's a lot more noticeable in, say, large custom Smash games with super mushrooms, because then Incineroar will be like 4 times as big, and that's when he really starts to miss the super mushrooms with his tiny feet, because he's so huge. And his running animation doesn't exactly drag a foot along the ground, so he doesn't catch a lot of them. To contrast, Ridley has enormous feet, so he never has any problems catching the super mushrooms. And then most other characters usually don't have any problems either. Incineroar getting the first kill with forward air. As long as he can keep this momentum, he'll be in a pretty good spot. Isabelle honestly needs to camp Incineroar out more, because Isabelle is good at camping, and Incineroar is an incredibly slow character. I believe he has the slowest run speed in the game. It used to be Robin, and then it used to be Jigglypuff before that. It's not as much of a problem for Jigglypuff, who can fly whenever she feels like it, and Robin, who has a bajillion projectiles. So Robin doesn't need to run towards the opponent as much. It just feels like with the last couple of Smash games, they take pride in introducing the new slowest to run character. Incineroar with a brutal throat chop on Isabelle. Isabelle needs to start making plays. She's not keeping up with the auto heal. That fishing rod could have actually done some... Oh, double ledge trump. That's kind of weird. Isabelle could have gotten a broom combo. Instead, she gets back aired for it. I guess it's fitting for this episode, though. So many of these matches have been just so incredibly short.